Hey guys, welcome to another video. In today's video I want to have a closer look at the itemization aspect of Diablo IV. From the first moment I loaded up Diablo when I was a kid, until my last rift on Diablo III I did, the most exciting part of these games has always been the loot. Nothing in the game can quite compare to that sound and sight when you open a chest, or kill a huge pack and suddenly that gold or green item clangs to the ground. It's just an amazing feeling. Which is why, as Diablo IV's release draws closer, I've been reading, watching, and consuming everything I can about how the items will be in this chapter of the franchise. And they've made some very cool and interesting changes. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is item quality. Nothing new here. They are using the same system they created in Diablo and perfected in Diablo II. You will be able to find normal, magic, rare, legendary, set, and unique items. Pretty standard. And they have as always kept them in line with what we would expect. Normal items having no affixes, magic having only one weaker affix in most cases, rare having much stronger and more affixes, and legendary that will have affixes that modify the power of certain skills. Now, unlike in the past Diablo releases, set items will not be in the game when it launches. They have said they plan to add them, but in a later update. And a few other changes in Diablo IV from the past iterations will affect both how we see set pieces, as well as how long it will take for us to farm legendaries. Generally in the past in any Diablo game, you would start out pretty weak. Then as you farmed and leveled, you would slowly start seeing more and more legendary items dropping. And eventually you would have alts and alts stuffed to the brim with legendaries. Or in like Diablo 3, you would then re-roll them or salvage them for crafting materials, but they were not overly rare at the endgame. Well, that has all changed in Diablo 4 though. They've said they want legendaries to feel, well, legendary. They won't rain from the sky like we are used to seeing. They will be very rare, and in some cases, you may not see any for months, and it could be even potentially a year before you get that perfect legendary that you've been wanting to complete your build. This is very cool, but I am, of course, an old school Diablo farm grinder, so I do like this. It keeps me hunting and feeds my dopamine hits. However, this is not the sentiment in today's gaming world. In my experience, I've seen time and time again people want instant gratification now, with an aging gamer population not having the hours upon hours to farm like we once did. So it should be interesting to see if this holds up long term, or if they end up slowly increasing drop rates over time to please the player base. And another big change is with sets. Anyone who has played Diablo 2 or 3 knows that many of the endgame set items, if worn in the right combination, can make you a farming or speedrunning god. Well, this is a lot different in Diablo 4. What they've chosen to do in Diablo 4 is use the sets as sort of a mid-game tutorial. They are powerful and they will affect your skills and what they do in unique ways, just as they always have. But they won't be as strong as legendaries. They've said they don't intend for sets to be endgame gear, and they won't carry you in the endgame as they have in the past. So that's going to be a big change. Another very unique and cool aspect of items in Diablo 4 is that the items will have a different appearance skin depending upon the zone in which you loot them. The skins will be themed to those zones. This is a completely new feature to the Diablo franchise, although long overdue. Games like Division 2, Grim Dawn, Titan Quest, and a few others that are slipping my mind at the moment have had this feature for some time, and I will say it makes things feel so much better. Not only is it a way to have a unique appearance, it also gives you a sort of identity, and you probably love that zone and it's why you're there so much. Now, I don't think this will affect named items, although maybe it will, but in my experience those tend to be linked to sort of a lore, so the appearance they carry would need to fit that lore. But if they do, that would be amazing. As I said, those other games do, but Diablo is very much steeped in its lore, so it's tough to know what they'll do here. And finally, in my opinion, one of the biggest changes coming to Diablo 4 is the power. In Diablo 2 and 3, there was always those builds. You can find them anywhere online. They usually change with every season. But the entire focus of them is combining pieces of gear in such a way that the special abilities on them would work to make another ability overpowered, like the Infinite Whirlwind Barbarian build, and of course the Endless Necromancer God builds. The one thing that these all have in common is they are entirely dependent on a single piece of gear, or a combination of. You need specific pieces of gear to get the perks in order to make it work. It's that simple. Well, in Diablo 4, this is completely different. What the devs have said over and over is that in Diablo 4, the focus has always been to make gear augment your power, not be the primary source of it. Systems within the game like Renown, the Paragon system, skill upgrades, and your level. These systems is where your power will come from, then be augmented or focused by your gear choices. That is a massive change over what we have seen in the past for sure. Also, now you have something called the Codex of Power. This is like a tome where you can store the various different legendary powers in the game. You can earn these powers through dungeons and they provide a very unique ability. Once you have them, you can then go to the occultist in town, where you will be able to transfer that power onto an existing piece of gear. This will be amazing for customization, but it doesn't end here. These powers you can unlock in this way will always be the minimum quality of that power. So what you will want to do ideally later on is find an actual legendary with a perfect roll of these powers on them. Then you can extract it and have the occultist put it on a piece of gear. Alternately, if you have that perfect build you have been after with all the powers you want on it, but then a new piece drops with a far higher item power or something desirable on it, you no longer have to then sacrifice your legendary power like you would in the past. You can have that power transferred from your existing item onto the new one, bringing your power with you. So then the question then becomes, well, if gear isn't central like it was in previous versions, then why would I grind for hours and hours at endgame? Well, another interesting change they've made in Diablo IV is sort of borrowed from World of Warcraft. At endgame, you won't simply be grinding loot mindlessly. You will be doing strongholds for renown, completing dungeons, interacting with all the various systems in the game. Still grinding, but in a more focused way. And what these will then provide you, much like in WoW, is rare skins, mounts, special powers for your character, access to new vendors, new dungeons, new locations. Basically what they have done with Diablo IV is moved it from being a simple ARPG dungeon grinder loot game and made it into a real living RPG. This for me is very exciting and will be an awesome and refreshing change over what we have seen in the past. Another thing that is new to Diablo IV is that now we will kinda know what to kill when we are looking for a specific item type. Different creature families will now have a greatly increased chance to drop specific item slot items. Like the Drowned, they drop pants more often than other families will. Or bandits, for example, they will drop bows and maces more often. There are others also, but not all the information has been posted or revealed just yet in the dev videos. But it will really go a long way to help us farm more efficiently with our limited game time. Overall, these are some very exciting things that they have done, and I think it will add to the immersion as well as give Diablo IV a very long-term play that the others may have lacked. There will be so much more to do, besides running that same cellar or rift or boss 18,000 times. Things will always be new and exciting and fresh. So guys, that's some information on the items and how they will work in Diablo IV. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.